So we are moving to our questions and discussions platform. Like I said before Irene went on the podium, that we should think as CAB members, as CLMs, where are we taking CAB, where are we taking community engagement after clinical trials? Because some trials come to an end. And then are we going to sit and wait, or are we going forward with community engagement? So if you have any questions, can I start taking questions for the presenters?
I'm going to jump in here too. I do see questions and I'm going to get to that. I was actually so glad to hear, from the variety of these presentations, it really helped me understand where we are with capacity development too. And an additional question that I'd love to ask everyone to think about is thinking about capacity development of our CABs and the skills they need to do better engagement with sites. But can we also think about the capacity development that's needed of CE staff to be able to manage the relationship between their research teams and the community and leadership skills that are required for that? So as you think about questions and comments, I'd love to hear that too. Thanks.
Yes, I've noted you. We can start.
Thank you to the presenters for wonderful presentations. My questions are to Zani. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly. I just want to understand the innovative program that you have for the youth, whether it was an incorporated program which you initially had planned whilst you were conducting an adolescent study maybe, or it's just an innovation which you sort of sat and thought about implementing in your community as part of capacity building for that particular community. And also when you said you were trying to understand the knowledge and also promoting the peer influencers within that adolescent group, is there any level of research literacy amongst those youngsters that you engaged? Because oftentimes when we engage with communities about research, the level of research literacy is somewhat not there. So I just want to find out whether those youngsters do have some level of research literacy, and also if they see or view TB as a disease which affects them. Thank you.
Thank you for the questions. So this was not linked to a specific study. It was really the site seeing a need and the potential of having such a program and the reach that it could have. In terms of research literacy, yes, that is included. And actually, TB Alliance has the research literacy toolkit that I started training the CABs with, and you could easily take some of those elements and use it, apply it in the workshop. So there is a workshop that's focused specifically on research literacy. I think that's very important for, anyone who's affiliated with a research site to really understand, what is research and what are we talking about when we're talking about enrollment or randomization or placebos or things like that. So I do try to empower them and have them understand, research as well. And they do understand that TB is something that's really a burden in the communities. And there's actually one of the youth that's part of this program that was last year. She's a TB survivor. So she, as a child, had TB, so it's really impacted her personally. And there's a lot of these stories. Maybe it's not a personal that you know yourself, that it's maybe not yourself, but maybe you know of someone. So it is relevant issues, and it is important in the community.
Thank you very much. There was a hand noted behind you.
Thank you very much for very nice presentation. And I remember Petro. Where is Petro? Yes, when he said that TB remain what it is, and Petro continued to say that the size of pizza did not change. I like pizza. So back to the presentation of Dr. Hadija. Dr. Hadija mentioned that about 30% of the TB patient was not reached by our services. So this question is for Dr. Hadija to know what is the real problem in this case, because back to our situation, we have people living in hard to reach area. We have people who are ignorant. We have different types of the causes to why people they didn't get our services. And this is very important because back in our place in Bagamoyo, we have a community-based group. We call it TB Hunter. Usually we go house to ask for the TB sign and symptom. And this is like we induce the what to call it a PCD, or this is ACD, I mean active case detection. And this was very effective in Bagamoyo. And we found that more than 25% of the TB was at home. So based in this case, what is your opinion or suggestion in your area to make sure that this 30% change, not be like a pizza size, to change at least to be 5 or 2%? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. So I think I will also concur with Omar what the presentation in the morning was talking about, that TB is the disease of the, I don't know, poor or poverty, something of that kind, compared with the COVID, which went all over the world. And then within 3 years, it's almost over. So that 30% was a preamble, because at Kilimanjaro region, our notification is 56 to 62%. So we are missing over 30% of the people who are having TB, making 100% notification. So that's how the 30% came up. But again, the issue of active case finding, it needs now the government and the political will, because you are going to need the consumables and the transport and the personnel for the active case finding. So that's what the district they are struggling with. But with Community Advisory Board, we have made them be knowledgeable on the TB basics. So they are going now in every meeting. If it is a village leader, if they're having a meeting, they are going to use 10 to 15 minutes to advocate on TB. If it is a pastor, when they finish up the Christian issues, they are going to have 10 to 15 minutes to advocate on TB. That's how we build up. But thanks again to TB Alliance, during this TB Day of 2023, we have a budget of doing active screening for every district that has been approved. So we are going to report that. So that's the thing. But we are missing like 30 to 40% when we follow the normal program. So the community has to cover the remaining part.
Thank you very much. You have been noted, that.
Thank you very much. Actually, I was going to mention almost the similar thing what has been mentioned by Omar, and just to add on what Dr. Hadija mentioned. In reality, with my experience with CAB, it's like, and this may also address what you told us to continue thinking about what else the CAB are doing aside from trials. Generally, actually, the CAB are doing two things as we are talking now, because to find someone to go to clinical trial, first of all, we have to find the person or the people who have TB so that they can enter into the trial. And I understand that as Tanzania is concerned generally, in terms of TB treatments, we are doing not very bad, but the main challenge is case finding. We are missing a lot of TB patients. So the routine work that's being done by the CABs, actually they are addressing the first parts, which is the challenge to the country of finding TB patients. And I think as part of sustaining the CAB, and this is what I think even the TB program and the ministry, they are very much interested in what CAB they are doing, because it is being seen now that they are trying to address what the ministry has been doing for a number of years of trying to find the TB patients. In Tanzania, actually, we have a number of what we call the ex-TB labs. This is a group of former TB patients. They are being used, especially in cities like Dar es Salaam and the rest of the areas. But actually, the CAB they are contributing now, we are noting that they are going to contribute a lot. So this is one of the areas that we should strengthen because we think in the future, now the TB program and the ministry, they are going to consider and allocate resources to add to what the CAB are doing. But again, on the other parts, I've been thinking we have a number of other issues or diseases we have to address that are somehow related to TB. I don't know for other countries, but in Tanzania, of course, this is the global issue. We know the issue of TB and HIV. And it's a policy that whenever we are going to address the issue of HIV, we have to address also the issue of TB. I understand there are issues that are coming up concerning TB and diabetes. Again, in our area, we have a very critical issue of TB in the mining sector with silica exposure and silicosis. So all those areas, those are the areas that we can join our efforts, join resources, and work more efficiently to address whatever we are talking here. Thank you very much.
Let's have our last.
Also, as a take-home note for all of us, especially community liaison or offices, very important that all these presentations we are seeing here, they make sense to us as community engagers, but internally in the sites that we're representing, how are we capacitating the very same researchers that we are working with for them to understand community engagement? Because it's so nice when we present our slides for us as community engagers, but then are we capacitating our very own sites with this activities that we know of? We know GPP, have we ever initiated such platforms where we would internally engage our PIs, our CEOs, that they understand community, because that's the first starting point. If internally our individual personnel, they do understand what we are doing, then it gives us confidence to therefore go out in the community and set a platform to say we have a site that understands community before we can even go to our external stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I like the fact that we've got CAB members in here. I've noted you, Chair. I like the fact that we've got CAB members in here. So I'd like to also, I think we'd also like to hear your voice as a CAB member in your position as a community engagement developer. Are you developed as a CAB member with the information that is coming to you as a CAB member? Are you developed? Do you learn something? Are you taking something home with you to your community? Because in my CAB, I always encourage them, because I've got also youth, I always encourage them that I don't want you to be a CAB member for too long. I want you to be a CAB member, and then when you move to another stage where you either become a counselor or a nurse, because you've got so much information about the illnesses and diseases that we are working with, and then you know now what happens. You now know and understand what an ICF is, and you understand the languages, and you know how to help a community member understand why they are going into trials. So I would also like to hear from the CAB members in terms of development. Are you developing in your community? Are you developing in your CAB? And are you taking the information not only to your community, but also for yourself? Are you developing yourself too? Check.
Thank you. Thank you, Program Director. I just want to pose a question. In fact, on the global cap, what informed the global cap? Because my understanding is that we do have cap on the local and the districts, but I don't know how you become a global cap. If I can get that clarity, thank you.
That's a very, very good question. I would love to opine on that, but I see Khadija really itching to respond. Please do. Yeah, I know you do, and I do as well. Please, go for it.
So can I? So I think the global CAB calls for nominations. I mean, there are many. We also have them. There's a Afro CAB also. There's a global CAB. There's for TB. There's one for HIV. They call for nominations and people get nominated. And it's fine and it's good in a sense because it offers an opportunity at a higher level when you have sight of more issues around community engagement across the world to be able to amplify concerns about community engagement to the World Health Organization or to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation or whatever the case is, and that's fine. But I think the confusion comes in the role because a community advisory board is by definition a defined community, either by geography or population or both, and it's usually both. And it can't, a global CAB cannot possibly represent, I mean, even though local CABs don't represent in that political sense, the global CAB cannot represent community views. But in a global CAB, participants can say there's a general problem or there's a general consideration that we need across the whole world or across Africa or across whatever, this disease area. These are the issues we need to address. I just think that giving it the same role as a community advisory board is a bit of a misnomer. But I mean, our participants and our CAB members sit on global and Afro CABs, and their mandate is very clear. You amplify systemic issues, but you can't possibly represent that community because that community is a defined place, a geography and a population. And it shifts, and we don't have the authority to represent a community that we are not from. You know, nothing with us without us, nothing for us without us. Same point.
I agree with that. And if I could just offer to add, and I do want to move us towards lunch, but this is a really rich conversation. I would say in the TB community, and Khadija, I know you're referencing many different global CABs, and I have the same feeling about the global TB CAB that exists, and one in particular that's managed and coordinated by the Treatment Action Group. Over the years of the global TB CAB's existence, I think that they've also tried to move toward a board that really does represent TB-affected community by having survivors. But also, we've all been working in the TB community engagement space for a long time. And what I'm really happy to see is that a lot of individuals that we've been working with, leading programs at the site level, have become nominated as members of that board. So that is an important indicator to me that we're building capacity enough across TB programs that are doing TB drug trials to work at the local level as well as the global level. It cannot represent the local community, but what they have access to is policymakers, donors, sponsors. They often get to review clinical protocol first, and they will get an invitation before a local CAB will get an invitation to weigh in on a study design at the earliest stages. So I think from my perspective as TB Alliance, I need to advocate with them to make sure that perspective is going to be helpful, and we advocate together to make sure that their CAB is representative. And that's what you can be doing as well.
We actually have a former member of the Global TV CAP here, Dorothy Namatama. I don't know if you wanted to offer anything about the TAG Global CAP, but I think you also have experience advocating at the very local level as well as the global level. And there are benefits to both. And I think, and also, Kakiso, what you were saying about we're all advocating and trying to influence across every spectrum that we're all working in, from our own bosses. And I said, half my job is also advocating within the Chicken Line. Half your job is advocating within Set Shadow Research Center. We want to be noticed. And so this is a community of having to together be able to raise a voice. Dorothy, I invite you to comment if you'd like.
Now, I think you've really said it all, that sometimes it's really a two-way process, being at the community level, but also being at the global level, that some of these issues should not just stay at the community level. There has to be a process of getting to the global level and to be heard in those forums where the reality is not often spoken about. So being the representative at the Community Research Advisory Group, you're able to translate what is happening at the community, but also in the region. And that is not only your voice, but it's a voice of the region that you're representing, and that you're able to articulate policy issues. You're advocating for resources, you're advocating for conducive policies. And we are also saying that whatever is coming out of research should be absorbed within our communities, but also, most importantly, our countries. Also to add that the development does not only end at the CABs, but that even individually, but also in our own countries, we sit at different forums, that we are at the community, or rather at the CCNs. These are the country coordinating mechanisms. We are articulating these issues beyond just being CAB members, that our research literacy has, we are not the scientists, the community people that we were at first identified, but because we have been able to build our capacity, we understand research very well, we understand the communities that we represent, we put on these hats, and that we are able to articulate issues right at community level, at the national levels, but also at global levels. So that link is really very critical and important.
Thank you very much. We've got two more hands. Three. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then we're gonna break for 5. We're closing it. We've got 5 hands, and then we are breaking for lunch. We'll start with Claire, then we've got 2, and then Sister, and yes. Oh, my apologies. He was first. He was first. My apologies.
Thanks, Program Director. It took you more than 15 minutes to My question is directed to Dr. Haja in terms of the education, more especially, should I say the capacity building in terms of the CAP member, in terms of how can we differentiate between the quantity approach and the quality approach? Why I'm asking that question? Right now we are having the Afro CAP and the global CAP. What are the submissions that have been made by the local CAP to the regional level via to the global level? If there is a governance, it should be have the logic. You need to start from the bottom to the approach, not from top to bottom. If we are in the process, how about bringing about the solution that if we have the training, we should have the standardized training of the CAP members and have the standardized methodology in terms of reviewing it, how it impacts. Does it save the community? But if we are having the very limited education as the CAP members, we are stripping away our rights of ownership in terms of the research. So we are taking the whole research to the donors, not taking the research to us as the community, because the research is meant to help us to identify the scientific facts which will bring about the solution into our community. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Maybe let me just add to what my colleague has just said. I think even to what the program director has asked us as CAP members to say, what is it that we are taking out of being CAP members? I think that is capacity building that we have, especially that we now understand a lot of research that is happening. I think it is very important that we should not lose those people that have been in the research from the CAP, so that we grow them to become something else in the research, because these people are more knowledgeable. They have already engaged with the communities. At some stage, they have also engaged with the politicians, because remember, the people at the ward level who are going to do research are from politicians. Maybe let me also bring the element of linking it up with the global CAP. I think it is also good that maybe we have representative from the CAP to the global, because we share information, whereby in our areas there might be some commonalities in terms of challenges. And one can learn from the other on what is happening at their area, so that you can be able to implement it at your own CAP level, because it's not just to be elevated to become a global leader without taking that information downwards, so that you can infiltrate the challenges that you are getting even at your local level. That is what I wanted to input. Thank you.
I think I'm partially covered with the latter two speakers on the input. Mine was just to add on what Mama has just said, that amongst other things, in order for us, beyond that we are CAP, what else then, how do we then sustain what we have done? Is that in most cases, we're coming from different structures that send us in order to be representatives in the CAP. So if we can continue to retain that information and make sure that you are actively influencing those NGOs or NPOs or structures that you're coming from, so that they have an effect and take this program further in making sure that even if that particular trial that has taken place is no longer there, but all other things that may take place in the community that relates to community advisory in terms of whatever research that is taking place, even if it's not medically related in this case, but at least you have that background of making sure that our community is well informed of how do they begin to engage whoever that is doing research in their community in all sectors that encompass our communities. I think that's the other thing that we should, in trying to respond to the question that you raised earlier on. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you for the opportunity. I wanted to ask about the youth CAP. What is that you want to achieve to have a youth CAP? Because for us, the task applied science, the age starts from 18 till above. So how do youth CAP interact with the elderly? So what is that you want to achieve for having a youth CAP? Thank you.
Okay, is this for me? Okay, thank you. So this is really, we call it a youth engagement and development program, which is separate to a youth CAP. Where youth CAP would, youth CAP has a lot of value if you do trials focused on youths and they have to give input on the studies. Where this one is a bit more different. It's really focused on empowering youths with skills to influence the wider community. And
I do try to create the link between the youth development program and the CAB program is the fact that the youth team leads are from the CAB, and then also creating opportunities for the CAB and the youth to collaborate on events. So when the youth have an event, the CAB members are invited to also be there, and the same the other way around. So that gives them an opportunity for that interaction, and that they are all part still of being affiliated with the Lung Institute as a research site.
The youth or the adolescent CAP serve the same purpose as the adult CAP. So we cannot conduct adolescent studies without having adolescent CAP, because they are the ones who are supposed to review the protocol and then the design of the study, everything, because we will be recruiting their peers. So they will also advise on where to engage and where to do our recruitment. Like I think is the gentleman next to you this morning, he said there was a study that was conducted and there was no CAP. So yes, so the same CAC, the adolescent CAC serves the same purpose as adult CAC. So we do have two CAPs at our site, and what we have done is that as soon as they are over 24, we don't want to lose them. So we are empowering them to go and join the adult CAP, and then in future we will keep them. And we also have Youth Health Africa, like Sandy at their side, they do have. So after establishing this adolescent, we also encourage them to be empowered and do some skills. And also right now we are doing the PrEP studies. So they're participating and doing the online training on PrEP. So they are PrEP ambassadors. Some of them, they've already taken PrEP. And also we want them to be our peer recruiters or data officers at our site. So we are empowering them. We also have a CAP members she was a CAP member, a global CAP member, and then now she's our research assistant. So we don't lose them after a certain time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our second last.
Thank you, Tommy. And looking at Irene's presentation, I really take pride in developing those documentation when the study starts, and we inviting different CROs, and we present our CAP and their work. Really, it's very easy to just convince them, looking at the outcomes of previous research that we have conducted. Really, they're doing a great job, and I really take pride in whatever CAP is doing. So we recently had a retention meeting with one of the studies, and we had about 311 in that protocol. But because of CAP, we managed to get all of them in one meeting. It was amazing. I really, really adore what I have from my side. To be honest, I can't do anything without them. Keep it up.
Our last speaker. Question.
Thank you. Thank you for a very nice presentation. Actually, it's not a question. I just wanted to, for both of us to understand on the CAP responsibilities. Yeah, because I heard from the some contributors that the gap of case finding, TB case finding, should be filled with CAPs, which I think is not their responsibilities. We all know that the CAP responsibility is to to bridge between the researchers and the community. So they have to know what is being done in the research, so as to interpret to the
community, which is the main role of the CAP according to the TB Alliance Research Redress Toolkit. This is one of the activity CAP are meant to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the questions and the answers. Bonus. And thank you very much for the questions and the answers and the comments. Really appreciate them. To our panelists, can I please have one closing comment from all of you? And then we are breaking for lunch.
Okay, so I think my takeaway is just that it's engaging youth as a special research population in research is very important, and it's not only going to benefit the youth, it benefits the wider community and the research site and the research process as a whole. So I would like to see us investing in youth development and engagement.
Yeah, so I think we can conclude that Community Advisory Board is very important for the research activities and sustainability of our programs.
I would like to say, let's encourage each and every one from our side to do GPP online training, starting from our PIs, and actually everyone from sites to do GPP training. And another thing is that we really need to have our community engagement plans. Follow them and make sure that we also prepare the dissemination plans for future in case we need to disseminate the studies that we are conducting, and have the good relationship with our CAP, as they are the link between us and the sites. And thank you. That's all from me.
Thank you very much. A round of applause.